All right, hello. Today we're going to be talking about road to recovering from whiplash injuries. So I hope you find this interesting and helpful. There's going to be a couple different things, some take-home messages today that I hope you find useful so you can help recover from the whiplash type injuries. So I'm just going to be sharing my screen now. I can figure this out. All right, here we go. So don't get in the car with this lady, or else you might look like this fella here. So not cooperating with me. All right. So if you stick around till the end, these are the couple things that you're going to take away. You're going to actually find out what structures get injured in a whiplash injury. You may think it's just your neck, but what does that really mean? Its effect on people more than just pain. Yes, there's pain, it sucks, it hurts, but it's more than just that. We're going to talk about that. What normal recovery looks like. There is a normal range that people could typically go through, but also there's a lot of things that are not normal, and this is also extremely common. You're going to find out what a toonie and whiplash have in common. So, you know, the coin toonies, and the problem with traditional healthcare, and some take-home strategies that you can use today if you want to help you recover as fast as possible. So a little about me. This is my little guy, Everett. My wife was rear-ended at a yield sign in August 2022 while she was 8 months pregnant with a toddler in the back. Everett there by a woman driving that white car, and her name was Destiny. So it was meant to happen, I suppose. Everyone was pretty shaken up, especially because she was really pregnant at the time, and everyone's fine. It turned out at the end of the day, but still, it's quite an ordeal to go through. So I haven't personally been in a vehicle collision, but was involved with this one some way. My wife was involved, and Everett still brings it up from time to time. Why did that lady hit us? Yes, and because it was destiny. So you can see our car was at the back bumper there was pretty smashed up, and her car was pretty much totaled. So a little bit about me before we get into this. Orthopedic specialist, fellow of the Chiropractic College of Orthopedic Specialists in Canada, diplomat of the International Academy of Neuromusculoskeletal Medicine. Basically, if you're dealing with aches, pains, injuries, problems with your neuromusculoskeletal system, I can probably help you out. If you're having problems with an organ like heart disease or heart attack or liver issues, that's not my jam. That's not my area. But these other issues, totally within my wheelhouse to help people. This is me. This is Moose. He's adorable and he loves attention and cuddles and kisses and pets. So what is whiplash? Now I found this video from just YouTube, and it really has a great illustration of a whiplash type scenario. Now, this is from a vehicle collision, but not all whiplash injuries are from vehicle collisions. So I'm going to speed it up. Initially, the accelerating. So as the car initially stops, the back is going to, or the head is going to kind of rapidly go backwards here. And you can see in this video, there's going to be a lot of pressure on these discs in the front and the bottom part of the neck. And then in the back here, you can see those joints kind of gapping and spreading apart. So that's going to cause a lot of traction force on some of these structures here, and also compression forces on the front. And remember, this is all happening within a fraction of a second. The head whips back, again, compression forces now in the back, and of course in the head and the brain shifting. And then you whip forward, that's why it's called whiplash. You whip forward, brain shifts around, again, and it compresses and tractions the structures in the neck, the discs, the joints, of course, the muscles, and the nerves can be involved. The nerves go through these holes. It's not shown here. So that can cause a whole slew of problems. Of course, whiplash can happen forward, back like this scenario, but it can also happen side to side, where you kind of get hit from the side, and the same kind of thing where you're going side to side like that. Also to note, the jaw is going to be affected. The jaw is a joint, and there's not a lot of muscles holding it there. If I can see here, right there. Okay, so the jaw here, that's just that little joint there, one on either side. So that can shift kind of forward like this or side to side, and that can cause a lot of issues as well. So what are symptoms of whiplash? A lot of people just think it's neck pain, but it's not. There's a lot more to it than that. Obviously, there's pain. You can get headaches, really severe headaches, dizziness, vertigo. Some people feel kind of foggy, a little off center, kind of losing their balance, weakness, numbness, tingling, soreness, stiffness, kind of reduced motion. I've had people after a vehicle collision or a fall, they don't have pain, but they just can't move their head. They can't move their neck. You're going to have reduced flexibility. And like we talked about jaw pain, sometimes there's going to be locking where you can't actually move your jaw. Sometimes the jaw is going to be locked open or you can't close it, or you can't close it, or it's going to be locked closed where you can't open it. So it's going to affect how you're going to eat. It causes ringing, a whole bunch of issues. So the thing about whiplash is that it's graded out of 4. So it's not just like, oh, I have whiplash. They're called whiplash associated disorders. So whiplash is graded out of 4. There's 5 here. 0 is nothing. You're fine. So grade 1 is when there's going to be some stiffness, some pain, but there's no objective findings. So you're only locally tender, but you have full range of motion. There's no positive tests orthopedically. Really, you're fine. And sometimes these people have persistent issues, but a lot of time they get on quite well. I'm going to jump to grade 4. Grade 4 injuries is when there's some type of pathology, such as a fracture. So if you're in a severe accident and you fracture your neck, which I hope is not you, but if you have, that's a WAD 4. There's either a fracture or dislocation. Grade 3 is a little less severe than that, but there's a lot of neurological signs. You've been getting numbness, tingling, weakness in your arms, in your hands. You're dropping things a lot. And these can be pretty severe, pretty bad. There might be a really bad disc injury or compression of those nerves that have caused that pain. Grade 2 injuries are the most common type of neck injury. This is where there's going to be pain, stiffness, a lot of those other symptoms that were previously mentioned. Majority of whiplash injuries are grade 2, but there are a couple that are the other grades as well. So again, it's not just, oh, I have whiplash. If you're experiencing whiplash, you know all this, how it really can affect your life. So yes, there's pain. Pain sucks, but it really impacts our ability to do things. How you feel, your mood, your energy, your relationships with others. You know, if you're a happy-go-lucky kind of vibrant person before and you're always going out and now you can't, well, that's going to change a lot of things. People get a lot of mood issues as well. Obviously, if you're in a lot of pain, you're not going to be in a great mood most of the time. There can be challenging times getting back driving in the car. And sometimes you just really feel like this teddy bear locked in a cage, like you're locked in your body and you just can't do anything about it. So we need to do something about it. Now, the good news is there's a lot of research on whiplash. And the reason for that is there's a lot of money in whiplash because there's a lot of people who are injured, cause the healthcare system millions and millions and millions of dollars. And oftentimes whiplash injuries are involved with motor vehicle collisions. So there's motor vehicle case. So there's a lot of research on it. And what pretty much it all says, I just cited a couple papers here at the bottom, but multimodal care is the thing that needs to be done for people to make the best chance of making a full recovery. What that means is we need to be doing multiple things, not just one thing. For example, manipulation alone is not a great idea, but mobilization with manipulation, end range exercises, tissue therapy, all these different things together with home care strategies is going to be the most effective at helping you make a full recovery. And this just goes over the different gradings and the timelines. Essentially, it comes down to multimodal care, not just one thing. So what is normal healing time? Typically, if you've had a bad whiplash injury, there's going to be pain. And the important thing to do is that you need to try to continue doing life as normal as possible within reason. There's going to be pain, but that doesn't mean, again, talking to your healthcare doctor, your healthcare provider, make sure that everything's safe. But typically, pain doesn't mean you're going to be damaging things further. And you actually want to move as much as reasonably possible. It's going to be a lot of inflammation, and you may feel really limited in that first month. That second month, there's going to be less pain, ideally, going to get more stiffness, and slowly getting back to returning to normal activities of life. Or that's what ADLs are, activities of daily living. Month 3, pain's more intermittent now. It's kind of there, yeah, sometimes not really too bad. You're more stiff. You're getting more into that reconditioning phase. So you're trying to get back into shape, if you will, because you've had a couple months off because you're dealing with this injury. And then you're fine after that. That's normal healing time. The thing is that 50% 30 to 50% of people develop chronic pain and symptoms after a vehicle collision or after having a whiplash injury. This, by the way, is what a Tuni and whiplash have in common. It's like flipping a coin, heads or tails. Are you going to have chronic pain or not? And that is just a crazy high percentage of people that this happens to that have chronic issues. And the question, of course, is why? Why do some people get better that seem to have crazy injuries and are in really bad shape, but they get better? And then other people don't. And we're going to go through that. And the good news is that there is a path to recovery. There is a path to get back to normal and living a full, flourishing life. And if you follow that path, the odds of success are a lot higher than if you don't. There we go. So what does usual treatment look like? Well, if you've had a whiplash injury, you've probably done a couple things. You've probably looked online, whiplash stretches, whiplash exercises. What do I do? So you do some of those, or you see your provider, healthcare provider, and they give you a couple things to do. You might have seen your medical doctor. They might have suggested some physio, chiro, whatever. And they might have given you some over-the-counter medication. You might have seen a hands-on provider, massage therapy, physio, chiro, manipulation, acupuncture, all these different things. And the problem is that oftentimes stretches, exercises may not be appropriate for you, or they're not advancing. As you improve, as things change, the therapy and the exercise need to change. Oftentimes, when people are on pain medication, sometimes it masks the pain, and it does help for sure. Pain management is very important, but sometimes it can also alter how our nervous system is functioning, and it just kind of masks things. And then this is one of the issues with opioids, for example. That's why there's an opioid epidemic, because it changes our nervous system and how it functions. With hands-on providers, oftentimes they may not be working well together and not knowing what each other are doing, and may not be communicating very effectively. Sometimes you can actually get too much therapy. I had a patient one time who was in a vehicle collision. I saw him, and then I worked him up. I gave him some things to do. I told him, if you're going to be sore, try to do things as normal as possible. Do these couple exercises. I gave him a few things to do, and wanted to follow up at the end of the week. Well, time went on, and he came back about a month later, and he came in barely able to stand, sunglasses on. He had crazy headaches. His wife was walking him in. This was a big, strong guy. And I was like, what the hell happened to you? Well, it turns out that after his visit, he was still sore, which I said would happen, but he decided to get physiotherapy and massage every single day for the next 3-4 weeks. So within like about a month, he had about like 20 massages, and it just wrecked him. And it was really bad. So he had way too much therapy. I'm not going to call it therapy, but it's not really therapy, but just wasn't, they weren't aware, I suppose, of the natural course of things, and was just doing way too much work and wasn't allowing things to heal. And that's why he was in such terrible shape. And another patient came in, this is about 2 months ago. She was in a collision in the new, or just before the new year, and things were going good with her therapist, but she just wasn't happy with her progress. She was still having problems. She started developing headaches, started developing weakness in her arm and her legs, balance issues. So I worked her up, and I asked, what did the other people say was wrong? And she's like, they told me I'm just really, really tight. So I just keep stretching, keep getting massage. And the thing was, is that wasn't her problem. She actually had a lot of these functional deficits that were not being addressed. She wasn't rehabbing appropriately. And for example, if your postural control system's messed up and your vestibular system's messed up, you need to be doing specific exercises for that. She was doing things like squats and overhead presses, things that weren't working those systems. So of course, things aren't going to get better, and things actually started getting worse. So sometimes things get missed. So this is the path. This is what needs to happen to make a full recovery as likely as possible. First, you need to know what's wrong. Whiplash is way too vague. We need to know what structures specifically and what key functional deficits you're dealing with. Is there a postural control problem? Loss of balance, fogginess, dizziness, that kind of stuff. Vestibular system. Is your vestibular ocular reflex kind of weird and impaired? A lot of times people after a collision, if they're in too much traffic, for example, or things are moving by their eyes too fast, they start to get dizzy and uncomfortable. That's because the reflex that controls your eyes and your neck, them working together, that's been impaired. Excuse me, muscular imbalances, or the joints impaired, or the joints injured, or those getting healed, or those recovering. A lot of times when we get to that subacute or chronic point in time, we need to think of things rather as being damaged still, but rather reconditioning. Normal tissue heals after roughly 12 weeks or so, give or take. Everyone's a little different. But after that period of time, likely a lot of those tissues are actually healed now. So why does it still hurt? And sometimes we need to shift our focus rather than pain and damage. We need to think of it rather as those structures are now deconditioned. So we need to recondition them. And any type of conditioning involves some type of discomfort. I don't know if you've ever trained for a marathon or some type of athletic event. It's not comfortable because you're conditioning your body. Again, reconciling pain and damage. And also realize that there's a psychological overlay to all of this. So if that doesn't get addressed, things are not going to go well. And every single person I've talked to that has been in a vehicle collision, had a whiplash injury, and I've recommended see a psychologist or talk to them if they have seen one, every single person has said that has helped them tremendously. A lot of times they were kind of hesitant to go first. It's not going to help. Every single time it's helped. So just keep that in mind. We need to not only chase symptoms. A lot of times when people come in for the first time, they might just have neck pain and that's their main focus. But we need to look at these functional limitations, these functional deficits, and address all of them. So like we talked about earlier, the balance, the headaches, dizziness. Sometimes people get pains elsewhere in their shoulders, in their arms, in their back, in their legs. You can't just treat one area of the body. The body works together. If you're just focusing on one area, you're ignoring others, well, that's going to end up causing likely persistent issues down the road for that person. And the key here is that you, the person who's injured, needs to be actively participating within your recovery. You need to be doing things, being proactive to make full recovery. You can't just depend on others to fix you. You need to be working with someone who's able to provide you some strategies and things that you can be working on, and you need to be working on it. If you don't, I wish you luck, because you're going to need it. So this is just a letter a patient has written for me, just kind of going over some things that she went through. She was in a collision and she was getting some physiotherapy done, and it went quite well actually. They were able to get rid of all her pain. And she was able to function pretty decently, unless she wanted to do anything. So if she was just sitting there on a couch or on a chair, she was fine. Anytime she would do any physical activity, clean the house, do chores, go grocery shopping, trying to work out, it just caused a tremendous mess. So we were able to kind of get her from where she was plateaued to fully back to doing everything that she wants to do. And that was a pretty good success story. So here are some strategies for you and some resources. I'd like you to go to this website, or you can just Google CCGI neck exercises. Looks like this, Canadian Chiropractic Guideline Initiative. And they have a couple different exercises. There's a lot, and they look like this. See if it'll play. I'm going to speed it up a little bit.
Forward and backward bend. Each of the following exercises can 5 to 10 repetitions in each direction. This
Of course, I paused it. Anyways, just trust me. Go there. They have some great exercises. Oh, here it comes. I'll skip ahead a bit.
lift your chin up and return to the starting position. Slowly roll your head and neck backwards to look up at the ceiling as far as it is comfortable. Come back up by tucking your chin down and bringing your head back to the upright position. Avoid letting your chin poke out. Instead, keep looking toward the wall in front of you. Each movement should be done slowly and purposely, taking about 2 to 4 seconds to perform. Repeat each exercises 5 to 10 times.
All right, and it goes through like that. There's a bunch of different exercises, so very descriptive. Shows video, it's fantastic. A lot of them look silly and they look easy, But if you try it, you'll find out they're not very simple. They're very challenging. And a lot of that is because these structures have been injured and they just haven't been reconditioned. So getting those neck muscles working and firing and working correctly is super important. And there's a lot of tips and exercises in there. So I would highly recommend checking some of that out. I recommend these all the time to people. So what does multimodal care look like? We know we need an exam. We need to have an accurate diagnosis. What kind of whiplash? What are our functional deficits? And what is the best type of care? We need multimodal care. What that means is not just one type of therapy. You might see a massage and they do massage. You might see a physician, they give you medication. You might see a chiropractor and they crack your neck and adjust your back and all that. And that's all they do. Well, all the research and experience have shown me that you need multiple different types of therapy to optimize your recovery. This may include some of the following: mobilization, getting movement in through the muscles and joints, manipulation, neuromobilization, kind of getting those nerves gliding and moving again. There's various different soft tissue therapies, myofascial release, trigger points, deep tissue. The list is endless. I think they're all very similar, and they all seem to work for different people. Um, they all say they're better than the last, but it's really about choosing the right type of therapy for you. And again, very important, graded or appropriate stretching and strengthening exercises. If things are too easy, you got to make it harder so you can continue to improve. Vestibular retraining, trying to get your proprioceptive system back online, get sure so everything knows where it is, so you're able to control that postural control system. It's extremely important. So the question, of course, is where do we go? So water, water everywhere, and not a drop to drink. That's a great rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, I believe. So if you look, this is just for chiropractors. So if you look up chiropractors are great. I'm a little biased, but chiropractors, there's 241 of us in Edmonton last I looked. That's a lot. And that's just at Edmonton. So surrounding areas, and that's just chiropractors. So physio, massage, medical doc, who should you see? It's complex. My opinion, again, may want to see someone who specializes in these kind of things, like an orthopedic specialist like myself. There's a couple of us around town. The issue, again, is 30 to 50% of people develop chronic pain and chronic problems after a vehicle collision. Oh, someone's in the room, we're going to admit. All right, here still. Hey, Camille, how are you? Can't hear you, but keep watching. So moving on. Yeah, the book goes through some different action steps, things you can do to make a full recovery. And remember, you deserve a flourishing, full life free from pain. Don't let just one incident impact the rest of your life so you have chronic pain forever. Here's just a couple other success stories. You can scan that, go to that URL, click schedule an appointment, call or just text in there. Question is, what do you want to be? Do you want to recover fully, like this happy middle ball there, or kind of sad and have chronic pain for forever? So I hope you take some of these strategies to heart and actually do some stuff. And again, remember, try to make sure that you participate actively in your what's going on here. In your recovery. All right. Any questions? Camille, any questions for me? Hello. I'm going to stop share.